بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين نجوم الهدى قادة التقى أما بعد. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد إني وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين. صدق الله العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this lifetime, and in this life we have, see, many people find a role model, they find a mentor, they find someone to follow, to learn how to live their life by, and what rules and what regulations to live their life by. Many times we find that we are attached to something, many times we find we're not attached to something, many times we find we are lost, we don't know what to do, especially as youngsters, we don't know which direction we're going into and which direction to take. So we always have our eyes on somebody else, we're always looking up to somebody else, we're always looking for the attention of somebody else to guide us in that direction that we want to go further. And usually we choose our goals and we choose our future based on someone else's goals and based on someone else's future. So this is a time where we also have to choose our goal, and we have to choose our future, and we have to choose our role models. And who better to follow than the best of mankind? If we are going to follow somebody, if we're going to choose somebody as a role model, then why not choose the best of mankind? Why not choose those that have successed and gained the successes of this world and the hereafter? By success does not mean to have a huge house. Success does not mean to have a big car. Success doesn't mean to have a huge bank balance. But success means to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to gain the pleasure of the one who created us, who made us, and who put us in this world and has provided us with everything that we have. There's nothing that we don't possess that has not been given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our eyes have been given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our hands have been given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our brains, our mind, our tongue, our heart, our entire body, and everything that's around us in this world, everything has been given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why not gain the pleasure of that one who has given us this life and has promised us that if we were to submit this life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He would give us something much better than what we can imagine. He will give us something way beyond our imaginations. So in order to attain that goal and to attain to this final abode of absolute pleasure and absolute happiness forever, we have to follow our guidelines. We have to follow our role models. We have to follow those that have passed before us and have gained that position and have done it excellently. Amongst them is our father Ibrahim alayhi salam, who is amongst the leaders of the galaxy of prophets and messengers alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Ibrahim alayhi salam and has made his life, his entire life, from the beginning to end, as a lesson for mankind, as an ibrat for every nation that came after him, and has made him an ibrat for this nation till Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tested Ibrahim alayhi salam in so many ways, in such fashions that cannot be imagined by us. If we were to be put through those tests, we don't know how we would pass through them. But Ibrahim alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him over and over again. And over again, Ibrahim alayhi salam proved that his love and his attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was of utmost importance to him. And he completed and fulfilled his responsibilities in the most complete fashion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us an example that if we were to follow that lifestyle and if we follow the lessons of that life, we will also gain those high ranks and those high places in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim alayhi salam was a man of great insight. He was a man who searched and he looked for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the father of Tawheed. When we talk about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Ibrahim alayhi salam's story from the beginning to end proves the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How he searched as a child, as a youngster, in front of his father, when his father used to make those statues and he used to sell them. He used to make statues and sell them, make statues and sell them. And he was basically a wholesaler of statues. He would make them and he would sell them. So Ibrahim alayhi salam started to wonder that, oh my father, why are you making all these statues? You're making these statues by your hands. You're selling them to these people. These people are worshipping these statues that you are carving out of your own hands. And then you're naming them different things. You make them yourself, you name them yourself, and then you worship them yourself. There's no logic in this. How is it that you take a piece of wood and then you carve it into a certain fashion, and then you put it there, and since people start worshipping and asking from it. How is it that you take rocks and you carve it in a certain shape, and then you put it on one side and you sell it, and people start worshipping it? They start asking it. They start asking those things to help them in their need. They start asking them to help them in their difficulties. They start asking them to give them better wealth and better health. So Ibrahim a.s. wasn't happy, and he told his father that, "Oh, my father, it doesn't make sense to me." So his father got very angry at him. "Oh, Ibrahim, don't ask questions. These are not things for you to talk about. Don't ask questions." So Ibrahim a.s. started to search. He said, "Oh, my father, I know I don't believe in this. I will start searching myself." So then Ibrahim a.s. started looking towards the sky. When he looked towards the sky, he saw stars that used to shine at nighttime, and there's so many of them beyond our grasps, high above the sky. They're shining and illuminating and giving off this beautiful radiance. He said, "Maybe that's my Lord. Maybe that's the one that's created me. Maybe that's the one that has control over everything else around me. Because these statues that I see, nor do they respond to me, nor do they talk back to me. When I am hungry, they don't feed me. If I'm thirsty, they don't give me water to drink. If I fall sick, then it doesn't help me. It doesn't give me better health. It doesn't cure me. So these statues don't do anything for me. But maybe those stars that are shining up there, maybe one of them has that power to do that for me." So then he started to look for those stars. But then when morning time came, the stars disappeared. So he said, "No. La uhibbul afilin." So I'm not attached. I don't like those things that disappear on me. If I'm going to love something, if I'm going to worship something, if I'm going to take it as a Lord, then it has to be something that will be there whenever I need it to be. And it has to be something that will be omnipresent. It will always be present. If I am sick, I need it to be there to help me cure. If I'm hungry, I want it to be there to help me eat. If I'm thirsty, I want it to be there to help me drink. At every moment of my life, I need it to be there. Those stars aren't there for me. So then he saw the moon. He said, "Maybe the moon is my Lord. It's bigger, it gives off more light, it illuminates the whole night. If it's a full moon, then the moon itself is enough to illuminate the path. So maybe the moon is my Lord." But then the same thing happened. Morning time came, and then the moon disappeared. But then he said, "Maybe there's sun. Maybe the sun is my Lord. It gives off even more light. It's even brighter. It's even bigger. Maybe that has more power." But then when night time came, the sun also disappeared. So then the same thing happened. La uhibbul afilin. I don't love those things that disappear on me. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he brought him to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ibrahim alayhi salam found Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up the treasures of dunya and akhirah towards him. And Ibrahim alayhi salam started believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala made him a prophet, and then he carried him through this test. He made him a prophet and gave him the responsibility of bringing people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Ibrahim alayhi salam started inviting people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he had such a strong connection, such a strong love, and such a strong attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that there was nothing in this world that he would compromise that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he started inviting his people, then the king of that time heard about it. The minister heard about it. And then he gathered the people and he started asking, "What should we do?" They said, "This boy Ibrahim, he has caused lots of trouble. He's caused lots of trouble. He's caused a stir." He took an axe and he started breaking down all those statues. They had a room where they kept all the statues. So he took an axe. The people went out to celebrate one day. He said, "I won't go with you. I will stay home." And he went into that room and he broke all those statues. And then there was one big one. He put the axe, so he hung it in the neck of that big statue, and he left. So the people came back. They found their statues broken. So they got very angry. They got very furious. So he said, "Who could have done this with our lords? Who could have done this with our statues?" So he said, "There is one child that didn't go with us, Ibrahim. Maybe he's the one who did it." So they summoned him. So, "Ibrahim, how could you do this to our statues? How could you do this to our lords?" He said, "I didn't do anything. Maybe it's that one. The only one that he had left, the big one that he had left, the big statue he left with the axe hanging in his neck." He said, "Maybe it's that one. I didn't do anything." He said, "Why don't you ask him? Why don't you ask the statue?" So, "Ibrahim, you know that these statues don't speak. You know that these statues don't answer. So how can we ask it?" He said, "That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you." He said, if you believe so much in these statues, then why don't you speak to it and ask him to guide you to the one who did that? So they said, no, you're trying to make fun of our statues. So they went to their king and they complained. And the king, he ordered that a huge fire be built, a huge fire be made, and that he should be burnt in that fire. So for days, they started preparing this fire. For days, they prepared it and they prepared it and they made it bigger and bigger and bigger until it was a blazing hot fire. Some say it was like a small hill of fire. It was just a fire that was on. So then they couldn't come close. It was so hot and it was so powerful that fire was so hot that they couldn't come close to it to put Ibrahim a.s. into it. So they had to build a catapult. They built a catapult and they said, we'll throw Ibrahim a.s. from a distance into that fire so he can burn. And everyone will see him in that fire and everyone will see him burn. So they decided to build a catapult. They made a catapult. They tied Ibrahim a.s. and the time came to throw him in. When they threw Ibrahim a.s. into the fire, while he was in the air, because he had already believed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he had already taken Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's side, and he had already kept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his heart. So while he was in the air, flying towards that fire, the angels came rushing to Ibrahim a.s. Said, "O Ibrahim, we have come to help you, and we have come to save you from this fire." So he asked the question to the angels. He said, "O angels, have you come by yourself, or has Allah sent you?" So he said, "Of course, we asked Allah's permission, and then Allah gave us permission, so we came to help you." He said, "If you came by yourself, then I don't need you." Meaning, if you had to ask permission and then you came to help me, then I don't need you. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. That Allah is enough for me. Allah suffices for me, and He will take care of my needs. If this is the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if He has brought me up to here, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also take care of me beyond this. This is nothing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because like I said, everything that's around us is just only a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's under the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does as He pleases. So Ibrahim a.s., while he is in the air and the angels are coming to save him, he is giving them the answer that no one could have ever thought of. If someone is in trouble and he's facing a fire, he's going to be burnt, and someone offers help, he will never say no. It doesn't matter who it is. It might be his enemy, it might be the person he doesn't like, he might have a fight with him, but whoever offers help at the time, when you're in dire need, then it's impossible for that person to refuse. He'll never say no. But Ibrahim a.s. had such a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he had such trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he refused help from anything around him, except that it came directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he wanted only subhanahu wa ta'ala, he wanted only Allah to be the one that sends the help and nothing else, and no one else. Unlike us today, we seek help from everything. We try to help everyone around us, and we try to seek help from everything around us. We try to take support of everything around us. So Ibrahim a.s., he taught the ummah that at the time of need and in your lives, you don't need to depend on anybody. The only one you need to depend on is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he refused. He told the angels, "I don't need your help. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save me from this." And right after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the fire, "Ya naru kuni bardan wa salamun ala Ibrahim." O fire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding the fire. So, O fire, be coolness, bardan wa salaman, be coolness and peace for Ibrahim. So that fire that was blazing hot and that was burning everything around it, and that fire that no one could approach because it was so hot, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling that fire, "O fire, you better be cold. You better be cool. You better be nice, and you better be very peaceful to Ibrahim." So when Ibrahim a.s. fell into that fire, and he was into that fire, then Ibrahim a.s. didn't get burnt. Nor did he feel the heat. Nor was he worried about the fire burning him, because he had already had that contentment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take care of me. So it comes in some narrations that Ibrahim a.s. stayed in that fire for 40 days, in that blazing hot fire. And he stayed in there, but he stayed in that fire at complete ease. He had no worries in the world. If things went towards that fire, they'll get burnt. If animals went towards it, they'll get burnt. If people went towards it, they'll get burnt. But Ibrahim a.s. is sitting in there at complete ease, complete comfort, and he's not worried about a single thing. Comes some narrations that the ropes that were tied around Ibrahim alayhi salam, the ropes that were tied on his hands and his feet when they were throwing him to the fire, those ropes were burnt off, but the hairs and the arms and the skin of Ibrahim alayhi salam was not touched by the fire, because it was a direct command from the fire not to touch Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then he came out of that fire, and then he left and he traveled. So Ibrahim alayhi salam had a very strong connection and a very strong attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to show the love of Ibrahim alayhi salam that he had for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is one narration that says that Ibrahim alayhi salam was traveling in the desert, and there was nothing around him. He was traveling and he was traveling and he was traveling. There was nobody around him. He was alone. There was no creation. And all of a sudden he hears someone call the name Allah. So right away he gets mesmerized. It was said in such a beautiful tone. It was said in such a melodious fashion that it caught the attention of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he was mesmerized. That who has taken the name of Allah? My Creator, my Lord. Who could have taken the name of Allah? So he started searching. He started looking around. Maybe there's someone around that has taken the name of Allah that I have not seen. So he started searching and searching and searching, and he didn't find anyone. And then he hears the name of Allah again. He hears Allah. So he starts searching even more. So, no, there must be someone around here that has taken the name of Allah. So he starts looking, and he finds one person standing in a corner somewhere, and he goes rushing towards him. He says, "Are you the one? Are you the one that took the name of Allah?" He says, "Maybe it was me. Why does it concern you?" He says, "No, the fashion and the way and the manner in which you took that name of Allah, it has shaken my heart. And I'm so mesmerized, I want to hear it one more time. So if it's you, can you please say it one more time?" He said, "What will you give me if I say it one more time?" He said, "All my possessions, all my wealth that I have, you can take all of it." So he gave him his money, he gave him whatever he had, so you can take all of these and just say that name of Allah one more time. So the person, he says Allah again, and he says the name of Allah. So then Ibrahim said, no, say it one more time. I want to hear this one more time. Because Ibrahim has such a love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when a person is naturally in love with something, he's attached to something, he wants to hear that name constantly. He wants to hear that object being talked about. He wants to hear that person being talked about. Like youngsters who follow soccer, they will talk about Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi all day, and they won't get tired of it. They'll talk about him all day. And whoever talks about that person, they'll rush towards him to talk about him. If it's a singer, if it's a celebrity, if it's a hockey player, if it's a basketball player, no matter what they are, as soon as someone talks about something that they like and something that they're attached to, right away they will rush and they will want to talk about it. They want to share their information, and they want to learn more about that person. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he wanted to hear the name of his beloved being said over and over again. So he says, "Can you please say it one more time?" He said, "What will you give me now?" He said, "I have some sheep. I have a herd of sheep. I can give you all of them. You can take all of them. But just say the name of Allah one more time. I want to hear you say it one more time." So the person says, "Allah." He says, "Allah." He says, "No, it's not enough. It's not enough." He's getting the enjoyment of that, but it's not enough. He said, "I want you to say it one more time." He said, "Oh Ibrahim, you have nothing left. You gave me all your wealth. You gave me all your sheep. There's nothing left for you to give me." He said, "It's true. I have nothing to give you. But you know what? I will be your slave for the rest of my life. I will be your slave for the rest of my life. I want you to say just one more time." Such love, such connection, that he's willing, without thinking, willing to give up everything he has, and willing to give up all his possessions, and willing to give up his own life, just so he can hear the name of Allah one more time. Just one more time. How much love must he have in his heart, and what connection must he have had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he was ready to give up everything, give up his entire life, become a slave till he dies, just to hear the name of Allah. So then that person says, "Oh Ibrahim, I am not a human being. I am not a human being. I am an angel that was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I was sent to test your love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was sent to test your love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And O Ibrahim, you have passed that test with flying colors. You left nothing. You've passed that test of that love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such a connection they had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our role model of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what kind of love should we have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What kind of connection should we have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Ibrahim alayhi salam, not only for this love, but he was tested over and over again, even with his son Ismail alayhi salam, who at the age of 85, around the age of 85, Ibrahim alayhi salam had a son called Ismail. Obviously, when a person grows at that age and he is so old and he has a son, that son or that child becomes beloved to him, more beloved to him than his own life. You can ask your parents how beloved you are to them, and ask them if they were at 85 years old and they had a son and they had no child before that, and the only son they had was at 85 years old, how beloved would that child be to them? There's no words to express that connection, and there's no words to express that love that they would have. But at the age of 85, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants him a son. And while he's still a small child, a small baby, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands him that, O Ibrahim, now take your son and go. Take your son and travel. He says, where should I go? I don't know where to go. He says, don't worry, I will send Jibreel alayhi salam, and Jibreel will come to you in a human form. Just follow wherever he goes and take your family and go. So Ibrahim alayhi salam is waiting. Jibreel alayhi salam comes in a form of a human being, and he guides Ibrahim alayhi salam and he takes him. He takes him from Palestine travel all the way towards Mecca. And when they reach Mecca, Jibreel alayhi salam leaves him there. So this is where you leave your family. So Ibrahim alayhi salam leaves his family and he starts to travel back without saying anything. So his wife and the mother Ismail alayhi salam starts to question Ibrahim alayhi salam, where are we going? Where are you going? Why have you brought us all the way here? So Ibrahim alayhi salam was commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to answer, not to give an answer, and not to tell them what's happening. So Ibrahim alayhi salam comes to Mecca. He leaves them there and he's about to leave, and she questions, but he wouldn't answer. So he says, is this a command from Allah? Is this a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And instead of answering with yes or no, he just nods his head and he walks away. As soon as he nods his head, she understands that this is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is فَإِذًا لَا يُضِيعُنَا. If this is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then just like the same conviction that Ibrahim alayhi salam had when he was being thrown into that fire, and with the same conviction that he had that he would not get burnt and he would not get harmed, because this was a commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the same way his wife says that if this is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to waste this. It's impossible. فَإِذًا لَا يُضِيعُنَا. You can go wherever you want, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of us. He will find a way out for us. So Ibrahim alayhi salam leaves and he goes back towards Palestine. And now she is left alone in a place, in a desert, where there's no inhabitation, there's no vegetation, there's no food, there's no drink, there's nothing. And to make it worse, there's no one that lives there either. No one lives in that place. It's completely empty. No one there. And Ismail alayhi salam starts to cry. She has no food, she has no drink. So now she's searching for food. She starts looking for food. She starts looking for something to feed Ismail alayhi salam. And she's searching and she's searching. And there are two hills, Safa and Marwa. And she starts to climb on one side, on top of the hill, to see maybe there's a caravan passing by. Maybe there's some people that are traveling in that direction that she can ask for some help. So she goes onto one side and she finds nothing. And she goes onto the other side and she finds nothing. And in between, because the hills were next to each other, as soon as she would go to the middle where she couldn't see Ismail alayhi salam, then she would run. And she would run from one side to the other until she got elevated, and then she would walk to the top. And when she came back, she'd do the same thing. She'd run and then she'd walk back to the top. And she kept going back and forth, looking for someone or looking for something, looking for caravans, that anyone that could help her find some nutrition, some food, something to live off, something to feed her child. And while Ismail alayhi salam is crying, he's at the same time hitting his heels and his feet on the ground. And from the area where he's hitting his feet on the ground, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates, you see, a sprout of water that gushes forth. So when she sees that there's some water that's coming out from the feet of Ismail alayhi salam, from the bottom, from the earth, is just gushing out. So she rushes to Ismail alayhi salam and she starts to cover it. She starts to cover it from all corners. So the water doesn't flow away and she can use that water. So she says, Zamzam, Zamzam. She says, stop, stop. So she covers it and she covers it. And then that water got named Zamzam. It started at the time of Ismail alayhi salam and it's still flowing today. And it will flow till Yawm al-Qiyamah. It will keep on flowing. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created and He brought forth from nothing, from nowhere. It was from the khazan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it flowed and it's still flowing and it will continue to flow. And every day, thousands of people are drinking from that water. Thousands of people are taking from that water. So Hajar radiallahu anha, she saves Ismail alayhi salam and she brings him, and slowly people start seeing that there's water there. Caravans that are passing realize that there's water there. People start living there and people start coming to inhabit that place, and it becomes a big city. So after many years, in some narrations at the age of 7, some narrations at the age of 10, Ismail alayhi salam has grown up. He's never seen his father before. He hasn't seen his father. He hasn't spent time with his father. Ibrahim salam would come, he would see them and he would leave without getting off his animal. He would travel from far just to see them and he would go back. He wouldn't spend time. So after so long, Ibrahim alayhi salam sees a dream all the way in Palestine. And in his dream, what does he see? He sees that he is slaughtering. He has his son, and his only son, who he hasn't seen for so long, hasn't spent time with him, but he sees a dream that he's slaughtering him. And the dreams of prophets are always true. It's never a lie. So Ibrahim Islam sees this dream, and he takes his animal, and he comes towards Mecca. He comes to Mecca, and he meets his family. He greets his son Ismail, and says, "Oh Ismail, I saw a dream. I saw a dream in which I was slaughtering you." So Ismail says, "Oh father, do as you're commanded." So Ibrahim is taken aback. He says, "Do you know what I'm saying?" "I'm saying that I saw a dream, I was slaughtering you." He says, "Oh my father, I understand you saw a dream and you should do as you're commanded. If this is the wish of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala," a youngster, 7 years old, 10 years old, he's telling his father, "Oh my father, if this is the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then why should we move away from it? Why should we move back from it?" So Ibrahim alayhi salam had that attitude. His wife had that attitude. And now his son Ismail also has that attitude, that he's attached and he's willing to follow the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without thinking twice, without a doubt in his mind. He says, "Oh my father, if this is the command of Allah, then why not? Why not do it?" The conviction that if this is what Allah wants, then it has to be something good. If Allah wants this, it has to be something good. So Ismail alayhi salam says, "Oh my father, do as you please. Do as you're commanded. I am ready for it. You will find me from those patient." So Ibrahim alayhi salam takes Ismail alayhi salam. He says, "Let's go." So he takes him out of the city of Mecca towards Mina. And when they go towards Mina, before he slaughters Ismail alayhi salam, Ismail alayhi salam speaks to his father and says, "Oh my father, the clothes that I'm wearing right now, you take them off of me. Take my clothes off and give it to my mother. Because obviously, after you slaughtered me, I will be no more. But my mother will definitely think of me. And she will definitely remember me. Because she has an attachment and she loves me very much. So whenever she thinks of me, or she remembers me, then she will have my clothes to look at. Maybe my clothes will remind her and it will console her of some sort. So take my clothes and give it to my mother. And oh my father, when you slaughter me, before you bury me, you can put me in your clothes. Bury me in your clothes. And oh my father, when you're about to slaughter me, then make sure you tie my arms and make sure you tie my feet. Just in case I feel scared and I decide to run, or just in case I am in pain and I start to move my arms and my feet, I might hit you or I might kick you. So tie my arms and tie my feet before you slaughter me." I said, "Oh my father, one more thing. Before you slaughter me, make sure I'm facing downwards. Make sure that you tie me up, you tie my feet and my arms, and make sure I'm facing downwards, just in case when you're about to move that knife on my throat, if you see the pain on my face, you might move your hand away from me. So to avoid you moving your hand and not fulfilling the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then move my face away so you don't see me and you slaughter away. This is a son talking to his father about his own sacrifice. If we ponder about this moment for a second, it's something that we will never, ever, ever, ever in our lives think of saying, whether it be to our father, whether it be to our sons, whether it be to anyone. It's something beyond our imagination. To be slaughtered, to be happily slaughtered, not just slaughtered, to be happily sacrificed for the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and on top of that, given guidelines of how we should be slaughtered. Remember, this is a 7-year-old child talking to his father, telling, this is how you should slaughter me, and this is how you should fulfill the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best of manners, and the best of ways, and the best of fashions. So he tells his father, this is how you should do it, and in this way we will fulfill the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in this way we will both gain. We will both gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my father, this life means nothing. This life means nothing. It's a few moments that we live and then we all have to die anyways. So if you slaughter me now, I die faster and I go back to my Allah. I go back to my Creator. I go back to my Lord. So I have no complaints. You do what you're commanded. So Ibrahim alayhi salam does all of that. He takes his clothes off, he ties his arms and his feet, he faces him downwards, and he's about to slaughter him and he looks towards the sky. He looks towards the sky. After his whole life has been a series of tests over and over again, where he's proved his love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over and over again, and his loyalty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over and over again, this was like the final step. So he puts his sword on his neck, head facing downwards, and he looks towards the sky. He says, oh Allah, if this is what you wanted, then this is what you have. Oh Allah, are you angry at me? Are you unhappy with me? Did you think that my love for my child will stop me from fulfilling your commands? So he looks towards the sky, and then he looks down, and he is about to slaughter when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala switches Ismail alayhi salam for a sheep. Jibreel alayhi salam is sent, Ismail alayhi salam is moved, a sheep is put in his place, and he slaughters that sheep. All this, respected friends and elders, this entire story is to prove and to show that whenever the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the entire life of Ibrahim alayhi salam as a fact, is to prove that whenever the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is presented, to take it for its face value, to take it up front. Because behind every command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are doors and avenues of success that we can never imagine. And every moment of our lives are tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether we are young, like Ismail alayhi salam, a 7-year-old child, a 10-year-old child, who has not seen his father for ages, hasn't met his father for ages, hasn't seen his face for ages, but as soon as he shows up and he asks him and he tells him about the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is so happily ready to sacrifice his life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What kind of conviction, what kind of love, what kind of attachment did he have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that nothing stopped him from giving his life for Allah? His desires, his love for life, his love for enjoyments. Of course he was a young child, of course he had time to play, of course he had a lot of plans, set up. He wanted to do this and he wanted to do that, but nothing was prioritized over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing was taken before the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing would have replaced the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this entire story for us is a lesson until we die, that whenever the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents itself, and whenever our desires presents itself, which one do we favor over the other? Which one do we prioritize over the other? Is it that we give ourselves to our desires and forget the commands of Allah? Or is it that we give ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sacrifice our desires in this world? We are not being asked to sacrifice our children. We are not being asked to sacrifice our lives. We are not being asked to slaughter our throats. All we are being asked is to sacrifice our desires of committing haram in this world. All we are being asked is to leave those sins behind, those things that displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those things that bring the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those things that Allah asks us not to do. We are being asked to sacrifice that much and prioritize the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over everything else. A very cheap bargain. If we were to do this in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ready to open up the doors of akhirah. The doors of akhirah. The pleasures of the hereafter that we cannot ever imagine. We can never think of. The gardens and the castles and the kingdom that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has presented and has kept and has prepared for us. It's prepared for us. We just have to make those actions happen that earn it. We have to earn it. Just like every person in this world has to earn his position. A person wants to work in a company, he has to earn that position. He wants to become a manager, a CEO, or whatever he wants to be. He has to earn it. He wants to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. He has to earn it. He has to work for it. A child that goes to school, he wants to pass his grades. He wants to get to high school. He wants to get to college. He wants to get to university. He has to earn it. He has to put his time into it. He has to pass exams. He has to pass tests. He has to give pop quizzes. He has to give all those things. He has to pass all of that. And then he gains that diploma. And then he gains that paper that says he can go and work. So the same way our lives, or a miniature version of that, or a bigger version of that. That every moment of our lives we're being tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every moment of our lives we're being checked. That is our heart attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or our hearts attached to this world? Or our hearts attached to the things that we want to do and what our hearts want to do, or our hearts attached to what Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam want us to do? Which one of the commandments do we prefer over the other? When we're playing our games, when we're watching a movie, and then the adhan is given, and the time of salat comes, and our parents say, go pray, do we say, hold on a second, let me finish this? Or do we say, this can wait, let me pray first, because my Allah is calling me? When time comes to read Quran, do we put our Quran aside and say, I'll read it tomorrow, let me just finish this today? Let me just play my game for today and then I'll read Quran tomorrow? Or do we prioritize our Quran over our playing time? Our salats over our chilling time? So everyone in their own categories and everyone in their own aspects and their own respect has a role to play to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everyone in their own fashion and their own manner has a responsibility towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to use the story and the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam and the story and the life of Ismail alayhi salam as a stepping stone for us and a lesson learned in this world, so that we can improve our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That every day we are improving and every day we are proving to Allah that Allah, I love you more. That Allah, I love you more. Ibrahim alayhi salam proved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he loves Allah more than his own son. And Ismail alayhi salam proved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, I love you more than my own father. So both are proving the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both are giving up whatever they have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there's no limits. There's no limits when it comes to love. And there's no limits when it comes to fulfill the responsibilities of love. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to prove our loyalty and to prove our love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and give us the tawfiq to fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best of manners and the best of fashions. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi bil alameen.